There are so many dates to keep up with when you're in a real estate transaction. Hi, this is Linda Hardwick with the Hardwick Properties Group, powered by eXp Realty. And whether I'm representing the buyer or the seller, I like to stay in communication with them about all of the dates and the deadlines that are coming up. Some are very specific to buyers, some are very specific to sellers, but all of the deadlines go on a calendar that I provide to my clients. Like I said, buyer or seller, they're all going to get this calendar. So let me share my screen and show you really quickly what that's going to look like. All right. Here we go. So here is the calendar, or an example of a calendar. As you can see, the contract was executed on Monday, the 6th, and the option period ran from Tuesday, the day after the contract was executed, all the way till Saturday. Now, option and earnest money was due on the 9th. Now, if I'm representing the buyer, these are very important because this is when all of their inspections are going to take place. They have to get that money over to title. And then after we come out of the option period, the very next business day, I'm going to reach out, no matter who I represent, buyer or seller, I'm going to reach out to the lender and make sure that they are on top of getting that appraisal ordered. And then I'm contacting title to make sure that if we don't have a good survey, we get the survey ordered, because we do not want those things to delay closing. Then I'm also going to tell my buyers that it's time for them to shop for homeowners insurance now that we have a property address and we're out of the option period. I also remind my sellers, because they're moving to a house on the other side likely, to go ahead and shop for their insurance as well. Then we have moving prep. If you're going to be moving yourself or you're going to hire a mover, now is the time to either start interviewing the moving companies and getting quotes, or start getting moving boxes and looking at renting a truck for moving. So all of that prep needs to take place. And I usually give them a little warning about that at least 2 to 3 weeks out. The next date that's going to come up, is going to be right here, and that is on the 27th. That's the loan approval date. That is the number of days that we were giving to the buyer, or that the buyer had asked for on the third-party financing addendum. And then it's time to schedule utilities. If you are the buyer, you need to start scheduling your utilities to be turned on the day after closing, or the day of closing, actually would probably be a little better. I tell you, if you're my seller, don't have those utilities turned off until the day after closing, and here's why. The buyers are going to do a final walkthrough, and all utilities need to still be turned on for them to do that final walkthrough. So if you ordered the utilities to be turned off on the day of closing, and the utilities were turned off first thing in the morning, and the buyer did their walkthrough later in the afternoon, there's no power or electricity for them. And then you get down to the closing disclosure. This is important. The buyer has to, now this is on a loan. If you have a loan, the buyer has to receive the closing disclosure 3 business days prior to closing, or we cannot close. Some lenders count Saturday as a business day and some don't. So I will be in contact with the lender, again, whether I'm representing the buyer or the seller, to make sure that we are on schedule with the closing disclosure so we can close on our actual closing date. And the last thing that's on here is the buyer's final walkthrough. That doesn't really go on a calendar because that probably doesn't get scheduled until we're right up to closing. I try to schedule my buyers on the closing day. So if we're closing that day, that's the day I want to go do our final walkthrough. So that's the calendar. I tell all of my folks, you don't have to worry about any of these dates because we are going to stay on top of that and keep you informed. This is Linda Hardwick with Hardwick Properties Group. If you have any questions, please give us a call because we are fiercely focused on client satisfaction.